ni zaidi, lakini tunafahamu fika mara nyingi wakandarasi unapata kwamba wameanzisha mradi wanachelewa kukamilisha. Labda ni mikakati ipi imewekwa kuhakikisha yule mwanakandarasi ambaye amepewa hiyo kazi anaitamatisha na anakuwa accountable?
Unajua, ukijenga barabara kutumia budget ya serikali isipolipa yule mwanakandarasi anasimama kwa sababu hana mpango mwingine. Tumebadilisha sasa kwamba ujenzi wa barabara utakuwa ni serikali inachangia kiasi, lakini yule pia ambaye anajenga hiyo barabara kupitia kwa private public partnership pia na yeye atachangia sehemu. Jambo la kwanza. Jambo la pili, kupitia kwa program ya National Infrastructure Fund, ile pesa tulio nayo kama ni 20% ya ile barabara tutaifanya, kwa sababu sasa tutakuwa na hazina which is agile. Sasa kupitia kwa ile hazina tuta leverage pesa kutoka private sector, ndio contractor awe na pesa ya kutosha mpaka hiyo barabara ikamilike. So we will have not only the resources to start the road, but under the National Infrastructure Fund we will have clarity on the start and the finish of every infrastructure that we develop, whether it is a road, whether it is an electricity line, whether it is a dam. We will have sight, because we will use our own resources to leverage resources from the private sector to make sure that we have resources to start and finish every project. In the past, when you use resources only from your budget, when the resources from the budget is limited, then that is how roads stall, that is how dams stall. But now that we are leveraging both public resources and private sector resources and bringing private sector into the equation, the discipline of the private sector, the resources from the private sector will seal the loopholes that have existed and that have made road construction take many years and that have made projects in the past to stall, whether they are dams or roads or whatever other pieces of infrastructure we have been developing.
All right. Your Excellency, infrastructure is a very big bit, like you say, in terms of, particularly when you talk about regional trade, but it is just one bit when it comes to making it effective. The question is, as a region, how are you going to deal with the issues of corruption at border points, inefficiency in customs, and those problems of non-tariff barriers that have been inhibiting trade, particularly in this region?
You have said it correctly, that infrastructure is not the only thing. That is why I said in my plan that we need to develop a high level of professional human capital that will assist us in dealing with inefficiencies, that will work with us using technology. Because if you saw my plan, I have said we're not only going to develop high quality human capital, we're going to leverage on technology, we're going to leverage on AI, we're going to digitize, and we are going to use technology to fight corruption, to eliminate inefficiency, to eliminate dark corners. Because once the whole processes of government, and that's what I have done for the last 3 years, digitize all government services so that we eliminate transactions in cash, we eliminate subjective judgments by individuals. We are now currently going on to e-procurement so that government procurement is in the open. There is no tender in the dark. There is no corruption. There is no favoritism. There is no underhand dealings. That is how we are going to take this country. And that is why in my plan I said human capital is going to be a very big part of my plan. Digitization is going to be a very big part. Leveraging on technology, bringing on board AI is going to be a very big part of technology. But that's not also just what is enough. I have also said that we also are impeded sometimes by matters to do with energy. How much energy do we have? We have said we're going to develop another 10,000 megawatts of energy. We have the instruments to do it. We have been doing it in terms of public-private partnership, leveraging on power purchase agreements. We need to think bigger. And finally, I have also said that we have to be a net exporter of goods services, and products from Kenya. As we talk today, on one thing alone, on food, we are importing 500 billion. We first need to plug that. And that is why I'm insisting that we need to develop water harvesting, water storage infrastructure, dams, micro dams, mega dams, mini dams, to make sure that we grow enough food and we become a net exporter of many things, because we already have the markets. We have a market in Europe, which was open to us last year, a market of 450 million people, 26 countries. We have a market in the United States. We have a market in China, and we have the biggest market in Africa, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We must leverage on those markets to drive our economy, to drive the transformation of our agriculture, and combine all the things I have told you, from agricultural transformation to increase our exports, from human capital development, to make sure that we leverage on technology, to be efficient, to be effective, to reduce corruption, making sure that we have transport and logistics, our roads infrastructure, highway infrastructure, seaport infrastructure. I have told you that next year we're going to advertise for the construction of a new airport at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, making sure that we have energy to be able to drive new technology. That power is going to power county aggregation and industrial parks, all our markets, all our special economic zones, all our export economic zones, to make sure that our manufacturing, our industrialization moves to the next level. Because if we do not manufacture, if we do not add value, we will not create jobs, and we will continue to have a challenge of young people without jobs in our country. That is why, put together, the plan I have committed to the people of Kenya is to make sure that we take Kenya to the next level. And let me say one more thing. Many people think that this plan is about the next election. Many people think this plan is going to start in 2028, maybe 2029. I want to tell you, this plan started today with this road. You will be seeing, in January, we will start the railway. In January, February, we will launch the Kiambu Northern Bypass, the road from junction of Machakos going all the way to Emali. We will begin to roll out the highway project next year. We will begin to roll out our dam infrastructure next year. We will begin to roll out our interventions in education next year. This is not about the next election. This is about the next generation. And that focus, the long-term planning, making sure that in the next 30 years, when I will be 90, I want this country to be a first world country.
All right. Your Excellency, I want to follow up very quickly because we are almost winding up. You mentioned about the co-owning of the Kenya pipeline with Uganda. Again, also private investors are allowed in. You've had your critics accuse you of auctioning national strategic assets. How do you respond?
You know, those people are small thinkers. You know, the pipeline is not going to leave Kenya. The pipeline is a Kenyan asset. But we can leverage on that asset to do much more than the pipeline. The pipeline is already doing a service for us. You know, the pipeline is, if you compare the dividends that we get from having the pipeline, they are way smaller to the benefits we can get by leveraging on that asset to build new assets. The resources I am talking about that will be used for development of infrastructure will come from assets like the Kenya pipeline. And Uganda is going to pay for it. Private sector is going to pay for it. Ordinary Kenyans are going to own part of it. What, don't you want to own a piece of Kenya pipeline? Every Kenyan wants to own a piece of Kenya pipeline. They will be making money to the extent of the ownership they make. But it will free resources for government of Kenya to develop other assets. We have an asset in Kenya pipeline, but we can use the asset we have in Kenya pipeline to develop another 3-4 assets as big as Kenya pipeline. That is the innovation. That is the broad, bigger thinking that needs to go into this.
Mheshimiwa Rais, umezungumzia hilo swala kwa kina, na hivi sasa tunapozungumza katika uongozi kamilifu,
I have to go.
Ndio tunakamilisha Mheshimiwa Rais. Katika uongozi kamilifu lazima kuna wale wanaunga mkono na kuna wale ambao wanapinga miradi mbalimbali. Labda viongozi ambao wako katika mradi huu na miradi mingine, ungependa kushirikiana nao kivipi, au mpango upi uko nao katika kufanikisha miradi kama hii?
Umesema vizuri.
Ndio.
Kuna wale wanaunga mkono.
Ndio.
Kuna wale wako na maoni tofauti. Na kuna wale wanapinga.